Well, Bobby, here we are again.
Yes, back in the kitchen.
We spend a lot of time in this kitchen,
Yes.
and we talk a lot. We do a lot of things here besides eat.
We play a daily game of dominoes here.
And then go. We do a Bible reading and prayer here as a couple of faith
and play bridge here.
Yeah,
and entertain here. An important thing.
Yes.
And we're so glad to share this time with you all. And we have really appreciated the comments and the emails we've gotten. They're so encouraging to us that what we say sometimes is really helpful in what somebody needed to hear.
Although we don't say anything that we don't apply to our own lives.
That's true.
This is really Mama B and Papa B sharing how we work our lives, and we're diligent about that. We don't want to share anything with you we haven't tried and found helpful.
That's true.
That's the way we approach it.
We have been really diligent during these pioneer times that all of us are experiencing. Right. The difficulties and uncertainties of these particular times. And some of that diligence has produced a really closeness, a great intimacy in our lives. And so we reflect on, well, how did that happen? Where did this come from?
Yes, and so the title is Relationship Certainties in a Time of Uncertainties. There are some certainties that we can count on.
Yes, and one of them that everyone should be conscious of during this particular time of uncertainty is that relationships are important.
So in a sense, relationships matter, to put it in the vernacular of the moment.
That's true. We watched, I watched is not right. You read it on 9/11, a story of a man who had actually been caught in one of the towers that came down. He was on the 81st floor, and he was able to get down to the very bottom when things started falling around him. And it was totally dark. He had nothing but uncertainty about what was happening. He thought it was a gas explosion.
Yeah, he didn't know that an airplane had hit the building.
It was a time of great distress. His mouth, his nose, his eyes were full of debris, and he couldn't see a thing.
Well, it was pitch black in the area where he was.
And so he began saying to himself, because he thought he was dying, Jenny and Ben, Jenny and Ben. What was on his mind at a time of great uncertainty and distress was the importance of his wife and his son, his family.
And he realized, I'm still here. I haven't died. What's moving? What about my body? Am I harmed? And then he saw a tiny light. It was a fireman who was in that area, and the fireman was moving. And so he decided to follow that light. And the fireman found a door to a bookstore, and I think it's Barnes and Noble. And he broke through the door, and then that got him to an outside door to leave the building.
But the thing that interested me that he had left upstairs with all his business contacts on it. And it wasn't his job, which he was concerned about. It was his family that he knew was most important in his life, and he needed to get to Jenny and Ben.
Yes.
So relationships are important. And I think this time, this pioneering time of great uncertainty, we need to establish in our minds that they are important.
And yet, how we handle any given situation and this time is, in my opinion, somewhat based on how we handled past experiences. I think I think back that for years before we got involved in marriage enrichment, we tried to work through issues, and we were diligent as a couple to have a good relationship. But we really lacked skills that we learned later in marriage enrichment. In fact, we'd been married a little over 20 years when we found some of these skills that have made a great deal of difference in our life. Now, and keeping in mind, we still have been able to practice them for some length of time, since 20 years of marriage, and now we're almost to 64.
Yes.
So 40 years we have been practicing healthy skills for relationships.
Or trying to. Well, here's one that I have found important, especially during this time of uncertainty. And that is the practice of telling each other often of your love and of your gratitude.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I think that I prosper as a person when during this time you have told me really important things that you feel about me.
Right.
And they make me want to be better as a person.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true of all of us, that when we feel the uncertainty and at times feel the distress of it, we need to be acknowledged by people we love. And so that's true for them too. We need to not miss a chance to tell our family members, our friends, of our goodwill toward them and our good feelings toward them. It's important.
And I think in light of that, during these chats that we've done week by week, we've been so thankful for the comments that people have made, and how many people have listened and observed, viewed the chat. But you brought up a point that I really was reminded of, and that was one of my college buddies had married another college buddy, and over the years we stayed in touch with them, and then he eventually had a heart attack and died. And we were talking with his widow, and her comment to me was, "Britton, tell Bobby you love her every day, every day, every day." I didn't say that enough to my husband. And I think we need to acknowledge that. We need to share that kind of thing.
Well, we've spent a lot of our chats on dealing with disagreements and the difficulties of having a divided opinion on something or other. Right. And that is an important kind of talk too. But the encouraging talk, the sweet talk, the complimentary talk is important. Gottman, John Gottman, whom we sometimes quote, a famous American therapist.
Yeah, he says, if you have a criticism, it takes a minimum of 5 positive responses to overcome one criticism.
Yeah, that 5-to-1 ratio is amazing. That one negative comment on us is so strong that it takes from the other person, it takes 5 good, positive, sweet
numerous negatives. You're going to have to go to 20 positives, because it has to overcome them. And yet, in some ways, they're not necessarily overcome, but I think it's that they, they outweigh the negative to a degree.
Yes. So to show that relationships are important during this time of uncertainty, to show that they are a certainty in our lives that can sustain us and make us feel whole as a person, it's important to talk to each other. Recently, I read a book. I read mysteries, and this was a famous British detective.
You read a lot of books.
And his wife was shot in just a random drive-by crazy way. And it just took him so long to get over it. The grief was so real. And finally, what he came down to remembering about her, and the thing that he discovered he missed most, was just their talks.
Yes.
That they, every afternoon after work, they had tea together and they just talked about their day. It was a simple thing, but he found it was the thing he missed most about her, that this was a relationship where you could just talk together and tell important things about your day, even unimportant things, to somebody who listened.
Yes.
And that's what he missed.
Well, and that's happened with many friends of ours who've been involved in marriage enrichment, because in marriage enrichment, we practice talking to each other. And you and I are in a MEG, a marriage enrichment group that we've actually been in, meeting once a month since 1984. So that's a long time to keep doing this. And it's really saying you've got to keep practicing healthy interaction to continue to do that. Otherwise,
it becomes a habit.
You decide to go that way, or you slide.
Use the prep.
Use the prep.
Decide, don't slide. Well, I'm reminded of a marriage conference that you and I did in North Carolina. And so we were introducing the ideas of the marriage enrichment group.
Right.
And so we had people at tables, and our theme was how to have $1 million marriage. And so we had about 10 or 12 words on a list of things that contributed to a good, close, sturdy, healthy relationship, like communication and working out your issues, problem solving, handling money, sex. We had all kinds of things that are important to a couple on the list. And on there was intentionality. We had play money.
Was this intentionality about sex? Or?
No, just I'm going to make a decision and not let it slide, that this is important.
That the relationship is important.
So we had play money that added up to $1 million. And so I put $500,000 of my money to show you how much I meant this particular quality. I put that on intentionality. And then when you and I had our conversation about it, I tried to tell you that I've loved you for a long time, but that this was the time when I was going to be absolutely intentional about making this the best quality relationship I could. It didn't mean I wouldn't make mistakes, and perfection was not the goal, but persistence was going to be.
Yes, and I'm so grateful that you did that. I had spread mine out on good communication and conflict resolution and other things, but you just poured the money into that intentionality, which we both find important, but it's been a great gift to our relationship that you did that, and I'm thankful.
Well, I really like the idea that he's proposing here. And he said many, many years ago, it's easier to build a healthy relationship than it is to repair a broken one.
Yes, and we know that, and we we see it, and it's certainly less costly than to go through a divorce and go through the shift of any alimony or anything that goes with that, child support.
Well, I meant to add this earlier when we were talking about the power of good, positive, sweet words to each other. Yes. We were doing a local marriage enrichment conference. Excuse me. And as we started, I sang a song to you. I changed the words a little bit of a popular song that I was exercising to one day.
Oh.
And it was Brave and Strong.
Oh.
And I added to it, brave and strong, so smart and studly too. All night long, I get to sleep with you, baby. So the audience laughed and applauded. Here's this old lady singing about it. And that's about all I did. Months later, we were doing some kind of conversation about something you remembered that I had said that was helpful to you. Mm-hmm. And you said, well, I like that thing about the stud. It had been months since I had done that. Wow. Sang you a song where I just made up words that fit you. But that just shows the power that we have to affect each other
with our words.
And especially so in the time of uncertainties, that we pour it on as far as compliments and loving words to each other and to our children. Yes. And it makes a great difference in the quality and the certainty of the importance of relationships.
I believe that. And just to say it out loud, I love you.
Well, I love you too. Okay. And we hope to see you all again. We certainly wish you a very good day.
Take care. Bye.